Good morning, student. Welcome to the second lecture of unit number 2, that is Internet of Things. In the last lecture, we have discussed about what is an embedded system. So, embedded system is nothing but it is a combination of hardware and software which is designed to perform a particular task which has to be completed in a given time. Okay, so this is about the definition of an embedded system that we have discussed in detail in the last lecture. Okay, so examples of the embedded systems are mobile phones, washing machines, microwave, etc. Okay, after that we have seen different application areas of an embedded system. Okay, so there are different application areas like medical system, banking, transportation, radar, automobile, building system, agriculture, computer networking system like router, switches, hubs, and firewalls, and telecommunication, that is cellular telephones, telephone switches, and multimedia applications. So these are all the applications areas of the embedded system. Okay, so now in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the purpose of an embedded system and the architecture of embedded system. Okay, so let's start with the purpose of embedded system. So as I mentioned in the previous lecture, embedded systems are used in various domains like consumer electronics. It is also used in home automation, telecommunication, automotive industry, healthcare, instrumentation, and banking applications, and many more. Okay. So within the domain itself, according to the applications uses context, they may have different functionality. Okay. So according to that, each embedded system is designed to serve the purpose of any one or a combination of the following tasks. So, first one is data collection or storage or representation. So second purpose is data communication. After that, data signal processing, monitoring, control, and application specific user interface. Okay, so the first purpose of embedded system is the data collection, which is also called as a storage or representation. Okay, so the embedded system is designed for the purpose of data collection to perform acquisition of data from the external world. Okay, so data collection is usually done for the storage, or data collection is usually done for the analysis, manipulation, and transmission of the data. So here embedded systems are designed for the purpose of data collection. Okay, and data collection is done for the storage, analysis, manipulation, and transmission of the data. Okay, so what is data? That data refers all kinds of information like text, voice, image, video, electrical signals, and any other measurable quantities. Okay, so your data can be text, voice, image, video, or any other measurable quantities. Okay, now that data can be either analog, that is continuous, and digital, that is discrete. Okay, first of all, your data can be text, voice, image, or any other quantities. Now, your data can be analog or digital. Okay. So, first, what is analog data? So, embedded systems with analog data, capturing techniques collects data directly in the form of analog signals. Okay. Embedded systems are designed for the data collection. Okay. So, in analog data capturing, embedded systems capture data directly in the form of analog signals. Okay, whereas embedded systems which with digital data collects in which data collection mechanism converts the analog signal to corresponding digital signals by using analog to digital converters. Okay, and then collects the binary equivalent of the analog data. Okay, so if the data is digital, it can be directly captured without any additional interface by the digital embedded system. Okay, so the collected data may be stored directly in the system or may be transmitted to some other systems. Okay, or it may be processed by the system or it may be deleted instantly after giving a meaningful representation. Okay, so these actions are purely dependent on the purpose for which embedded system is designed. Okay, so this is about the data collection. Embedded systems are designed for the collection of data. Okay. Now this data collection is usually done for the storage of data, analysis of data, manipulation of data, and the transmission of data. Okay, after that again data is divided into two parts, analog data and digital data. Okay, so the example of this type of embedded system is the digital camera. After that, second purpose of embedded system is data communication. So embedded data communication systems are deployed in applications ranging from complex satellite communication system to simple home networking system. Okay, so data communication is for the communication of the data. So the data collected by an embedded terminal may require transferring of the same to some other systems located remotely. So this transmission is achieved either by wired medium or by wireless medium. Okay, we have to do here transmission of data. Okay, so for the transmission of data, this transmission can be done either by the wired or wireless medium. Okay. So wireless line medium was the most common choice. Wireless was the most common choice. So as technology is changing, wireless medium is becoming the de facto standard for the data communication in embedded systems. So the best example of the wireless data communication is the router. After that, next purpose of embedded system is data signal processing. Now, in data signal processing, data collected by embedded systems may be used for the various kinds of data processing. Okay, now again here data can be voice, image, video, electrical signals and other measurable quantities collected by the embedded systems. Okay, and this data may be used for the various kinds of data processing. Okay, so data collected by the embedded system may be used for the various kinds of data processing. So the embedded system with signal processing functionalities are employed in application demanding signal processing like speech coding, synthesis, audio video code, transmission applications, etc. Okay, so the best example of data signal processing is hearing aid. Data collected by embedded systems may be used for the various kinds of data processing. Okay, now example is the hearing aids. So this digital hearing aid is a typical example of an embedded system. So this digital hearing aid improves the hearing capacity of hearing impaired person. After that, monitoring. Now, monitoring embedded systems are specifically designed for the monitoring purpose. So almost all embedded products coming under the medical domain are with the monitoring functions only. Okay. In the medical, embedded systems available are specifically designed for the monitoring purpose. So they are used for determining the state of some variables using input sensors, and they cannot impose control over variables. So the very good example of the monitoring system is your ECG machine for monitoring the heartbeat of the patient. So the machine is intended to do the monitoring of the heartbeat, and it cannot impose control over the heartbeat. Okay, so the sensors used in ECG are the different electrodes connected to the patient's body. Okay, and another example is patient monitoring system. Also, there are some examples like digital CRO, digital multimeters, logic analyzers using control and instrumentation applications. Okay, so this is all about the monitoring purpose of embedded system. After that, control purpose. So embedded system with control functionalities imposes control over some variable, while monitoring embedded system does not imposes control over variables. Okay, but controlling system imposes control over variables according to the changes in input variables. Okay, so system with control functionality contains both the sensors and the actuators. So sensors are connected to the input port for capturing the changes in environmental variables or the measuring variables. Okay, and the actuators are connected to the output port are controlled according to the changes in input variables. So the best example of control embedded system is air conditioner for controlling room temperature. Okay, so these are after that the next purpose of embedded system is application specific user interface. So these are the embedded systems with application specific user interface like buttons, switches, keypad, lights, bells, and display units, etc. Okay, so mobile phone is an best example for this. In mobile phone, the user interface is provided through the keypad, graphics LCD module, system speaker, vibration alerts, and etc. So these are the 6 purposes of embedded system. First one is data collection, which is used for the storage, analysis, manipulation, and transmission of data. Your data can be text, voice, image, video, electrical signal, and any other. Second one is data communication, in which wired or wireless mediums can be used for the communication of data. Best example is the router. After that, data signal processing. Data collected by the embedded system may be used for the various kinds of data processing. The best example is hearing aids. After that, monitoring. Embedded systems are specifically designed for the monitoring purpose. For example, healthcare like ECG machine, which monitors the heartbeats of the patient, but it does not imposes control over the patient or control over the input variables. After that, control embedded system, it imposes control over some variables according to the changes in your input variables. For example, air conditioners. And after that, application specific user interface. Okay, the best example is your mobile phone. So the user interface provided is through the keypad, graphics, LED module, system speaker, vibrations, and etc. Okay, so these are the 6 purposes of the embedded system. Now after that, let's discuss about the architecture of an embedded system. So the embedded system architecture has 2 different types. That is, first one is Harvard architecture and second one is von Neumann architecture. So whatever the processor you are taking, whatever the control you are taking, depending on that, architecture has 2 categories. Okay, so one is Harvard architecture and second one is von Neumann architecture. Okay, so these are the 2 types of architecture. So what is the von Neumann and what is this Harvard architecture? Okay, so now in this topic, I am explaining you what exactly the von Neumann and Harvard architecture. So the Harvard architecture is the mainly the data and code. Harvard architecture is the mainly the data and code. So whatever the data and whatever the code that we want to store and access in embedded system, that data and codes lies in different memory blocks. Okay, so that it referred to as Harvard architecture. Okay, so when data and codes lies in different memory blocks, then it is called as Harvard architecture. Okay, so let's see the points. So first point is that when data and code lies in different memory blocks, this is referred to as Harvard architecture. Whereas in von Neumann architecture, when data and codes lies in the same memory block, this is called as von Neumann architecture. So this is the main difference between von Neumann and Harvard architecture. Here data and code lies in different memory block. Here data and code lies in same memory block. Okay. So in the Harvard architecture, whatever the data that we are using and whatever the building codes is there, so means the data and the instructions, data memory and instruction memory are lies in the different memory blocks. Okay, so buses, it uses different buses for or separate buses for the instructions and the data. So whereas in von Neumann architecture, both the data and the instruction will be stored in the same memory block. Okay, data and code lies in the same memory block, and that's why both the instructions and data also lies in the same memory block. Here data and code lies in the different memory block, and that's why it uses separate buses for both the instructions and the data. Okay, so that's the main difference between von Neumann and Harvard architecture. Okay, so let me explain about exactly what is von Neumann architecture consists of. So in this architecture, one data path or one bus exists for both the instructions and the data. one data path or one data bus exists for both the instructions and the data. Suppose whatever data path that is there, data, or you can take it as a bus. So whatever the bus, or whether it is an address bus, data bus, or control bus, so that bus only one bus is used for both the instructions and the data. Means both used for the code as well as the data. Okay, so this is the von Neumann architecture in which single bus is used for the both data and the instruction. Okay, let me do changes here. In von Neumann architecture, we use single bus, whether that bus is data bus, control bus, or the address bus. We use single bus for the both data and the instruction. Okay, so only one data bus is used for both the instructions and the data. So as a result, CPU does one operation at a time because we are using only one bus, and that's why CPU does only one operation at a time. Okay, so CPU can perform only one operation at a time. So that is either fetching of data or fetching of instructions from the memory. So performing read or write operations on the data, and any one operation can be done at a time. So that is the von Neumann architecture. Here data and code lies in the same memory block. One data bus is used for both the instructions and the data. Here CPU can perform only one operation at a time because here we are using only one bus. Okay, and allows single and sequential memory operation. So it means it allows only single and sequential memory operation, whether fetching data or fetching instructions from the memory. So it supports only the simple hardware. Okay, why it supports only simple hardware? Because it uses only one bus for both the instructions and the data. Okay, so there is no need of complicated circuit, and that's why von Neumann architecture contains a simple hardware structure. So let me show you that the diagram. So this von Neumann is the CPU, that is a controller. So the CPU having accessing only one memory block. Okay, for example, this is only one memory block. So the CPU is accessing only one memory block. A single memory block will be accessing by the von Neumann architecture. Okay, so the single memory consisting of instructions as well as the data. So single memory consisting instructions as well as the data. So instruction and data lies in the same memory block. Okay, so whether this is address bus, data bus, or control bus. Okay, so all these address bus, data bus, and control bus addressing only one memory block. Okay, and that is called as von Neumann architecture. Okay, now let me explain about the Harvard architecture. So what is the Harvard architecture? It offers separate storage and single buses for the instructions and data. So it is just using separate buses for the instruction and data, and this data and code lies in different memory block. Okay, so data can be accessed by one bus and instructions can be accessed by the another bus because they are using separate buses for both instructions and data. Okay, so this architecture has data storage entirely contained within CPU. Okay, so here the computer have separate memory, one for the instruction and another for the data. So both the data and program instructions are using internal data buses. Okay, so which is allowing simultaneous access for the both data and instruction. Okay, so now let me show you this. Let me show you this is the hardware. Harvard CPU. This Harvard CPU having a separate memory block, one for the instruction memory and another for the data memory. Okay, so each is having the separate bus, that is separate address bus, separate data bus and separate control bus for the instruction memory, then separate address bus, separate data bus and separate control bus for the data memory. Okay, so each is having separate bus. So this is about the Harvard architecture. Okay, next, so let me explain you the difference between Harvard and von Neumann architecture. From this slide, you can understand that your data and code lies in the same memory block. In Harvard architecture, it is lies in the different memory block. Okay, it uses single bus for the instruction and data, and here it uses separate buses for the instruction and data. Okay, and that's why von Neumann architecture allows single and sequential memory operation. Okay, now what is the difference between Harvard and von Neumann architecture? Now, first difference is that single memory to be shared by both code and instruction. In the diagram, you can see that single memory is shared by both the instructions and the data. Whereas in Harvard, separate memories for both the code and the instruction. Here you can see that separate memory blocks are there for the instructions and the data memory. Then second is that in von Neumann architecture, here the processor has to fetch code in one clock cycle and data in another clock cycle. Okay, why? Because single memory block is shared by instruction and data, and it uses only a single data bus for both the instruction and data. Okay, so it needs one clock cycle for fetching the code and another clock cycle for fetching the data. That means it requires two sets of clock, one for fetching the code, that means fetching the instruction, and one for fetching the data. So von Neumann architecture requires two sets of clock. Okay, so one cycle for data fetching and another cycle for instruction fetching. So total it requires two sets of clock cycles. Okay, whereas Harvard architecture, single set of clock cycle is sufficient. Why single set of clock cycle is sufficient? Because separate buses are used to access the code and instruction. Here you can see that separate buses are used to access the instruction and to access the data. Okay, so single set is enough. Now the third difference between von Neumann and Harvard architecture is that in von Neumann architecture, pipelining is not possible. Whereas in Harvard architecture, pipelining is possible. Okay, after that, von Neumann architecture is simple in design. It requires less hardware components to design von Neumann architecture, whereas Harvard architecture is complex in design. Now, why von Neumann is simple in design? Because it requires a single memory block, it requires a single data bus for both the instructions and data, and here CPU can perform only one operation at a time. That's why it does not require more hardware or more complicated hardware circuit. Okay, and Harvard architecture is complex in design because it uses different memory blocks for the instruction and data. It uses separate buses for the instruction and data. That is three buses for the instruction, address bus, control bus and data bus, and three buses for the data. That is again address bus, control bus and data bus. That's why Harvard architecture is complex in design. So these are the differences between the von Neumann and Harvard architecture. Okay, now I hope you understand the architecture of an embedded system. Embedded system basically has two types of architecture, Harvard architecture and von Neumann architecture. We have also discussed about what are the basic differences between the Harvard architecture and von Neumann architecture, and also we understood it by using some diagrammatical representation. Okay, so these are the basic differences between the von Neumann and Harvard architecture. That single memory is shared in von Neumann, separate memories are used for the both codes and instructions in Harvard. It requires two set of clock cycle, one for fetching data, one for fetching instruction. But here it requires single set of clock cycle. Okay, because single clock cycle is because your CPU performs only one operation at a time, whether fetching data or whether fetching instructions. Okay, it is a simple in design because it does not require complex hardware circuit, but it is complex in design because it requires more complex hardware circuit. Okay, and again, pipelining is not possible here, but in Howard architecture, pipelining is possible. Okay, so this is all about the embedded system architecture. So in this video, I explain about what exactly the von Neumann and Harvard architecture.